Hello boys and girls, and welcome to the preview of Manchester City against Arsenal. Oh, it's been a while since I've said that. Oh, about 3 months. Now, do you know the maddest thing is that I've actually done a preview to Manchester City against Arsenal already. Because if you can remember, right back to just before lockdown, we were supposed to be playing Manchester City on the Wednesday night. It was called off very, very late on the Tuesday evening. And I was already in bed. Now, I'd recorded the show and I'd scheduled it for first thing on the Wednesday morning. Obviously, I went to bed, woke up on the Wednesday, video was already out, go onto social media, and I find out what's going on and that the game's been cancelled. But the video was already out. No point in deleting it. It's already out there. But yeah, I'm going to have to do one because it's going to be completely different now. I remember at the time, I was looking at that video and I was saying, you know, Manchester City may not have Kevin De Bruyne because he was injured. Normally you go into these games and I do my previews before the predicted lineup and I talk about the previous results and everything else. But there hasn't been none of that. You know, we're not going to take the friendlies as anything because they're friendlies. But this is a game where it's kind of on a level playing field in terms of, you know, the fitness, in terms of the form. Manchester City, don't get me wrong, they've got unbelievable talent. And we're going to have to really be on our game if we're going to get anything from the Etihad. But I'm more confident going to Manchester City in game 1 than maybe game 4 or 5 when they've got up to speed with everything. So it could be a good time to go there. You never know. And of course, this is a game as well where nobody expects us to win. Majority of our fans don't expect us to win either. So in a way, it kind of gives us that free hit. This is what I was trying to speak about on the podcast. That because nobody expects us to do anything, it gives us that free hit in terms of the way we can go there and be relaxed and not feel pressure and try and play football because nobody expects us to do anything. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's going to be such an interesting game because the big subplot, of course, is Mikel Arteta going back to the Etihad for the first time since he left Manchester City to join Arsenal. Now, there's so many, you know, different talks that people have been saying and, you know, coming up with all these theories for the game because obviously Mikel Arteta will know Pep Guardiola better than any manager in the Premier League. He will know every player at Manchester City better than any other manager. He will know their strengths. He will know their weaknesses. You could not ask for a better man to set up a team to play against Manchester City. Now, whether the players can execute that plan is a different matter. But in terms of preparation, I think that it's absolutely perfect because we've got someone that knows everything about the team we're playing. And it's not just something he knows because of videos and some games he's watched. It's first-hand knowledge. Being in that dressing room week in, week out. Knowing every inch of those players. You know, up here. What makes them tick. That's what I'm hoping for. So with that said, let's go and get into the predicted lineup because this is going to be a very, very interesting one. And I'm going to say this straight away. I would not go for the 4-2-3-1. Not at Manchester City. I've been having a look at some of the results of Manchester City this season and some of the formations that the teams that have beaten them have played. And a lot of them are playing with 2 strikers. Now, not out and out 2 strikers. When we say a 4-4-2, as a diamond. So when they've got the ball and in transition, they convert into a 2. When they haven't got the ball and they have to revert back, then one drops and the midfield becomes tighter. It can be narrow or it could be wide. But one thing that we need to do with Manchester City is stop them playing in the middle of the park. We need to upset the rhythm because one of their big strengths is that middle and playing the ball out wide and using their fullbacks, you know, as overlapping runners, basically wingers. Every player, every single Arsenal player has to be on their job, 100%. You cannot switch off for 1 second. I've got a feeling Mikel Arteta will go for a 4-3-3 and match up Manchester City's 4-3-3 unless they pull out something random at the last minute. But again, I think Mikel Arteta will have something in mind in case Pep does that, because, you know, alternative formations is something he will know about as well, and what Pep might go to on certain occasions. So it's a game of minds, you know, and who wins that battle. You know, the master against the pupil. So it's going to be interesting. But what I will say about the 4-3-3 formation is that I think that one of the three will drop and you can basically have an extra, you know, man in that midfield. So it's basically a 4. If you have an inverted right back, for example, like what Manchester City like doing, then you can have an extra man in your midfield then. One of the things about Manchester City is that if you press from high and you win the ball in a high position, for example, you win the ball from Rodri, you are straight away at their back line. You know, Manchester City play a very dangerous game, but it works the majority of the time. But if you play against them in the right way and every player is performing, you can break that. And you've got to remember, they've lost more games this season than Arsenal. That's the maddest statistic. Manchester City have lost more than Arsenal. I watched Norwich against Manchester City and it was an absolute masterclass. And again, you might see a formation and how it's set up, but with the ball and without the ball, it changes. And that's the key. It's not about a static formation. It's about changing and having players that have got the brain to be able to do it. Now, have we got those players? You've got to hope that Mikel Arteta's had plenty of time to work on them, and so they can, you know, follow the instructions. But we will wait and see. This is what I'm going to go with my 4-3-3. Starting off in goal, Leno. Very, very straightforward decision. Do not need to say any more about this one. This game, though, he has to be on his job big time because Man City will have chances and we're going to need him. So, Leno in goal. Right back, Hector Bellerin. Pretty straightforward decision as well. Maybe Maitland-Niles, but no, not for me. Bellerin will start that one. In the centre of defence, first of all, David Luiz. And I think he's important. And I think if you look at some of the friendly games, it's very clear what Arsenal have been working on. And that ball out from the back, that could be key in this game because it breaks Manchester City's midfield. You bypass it. Don't always have to try and go through it. Bypass it. David Luiz is the best passer of the ball out from the back, and he can do that. So David Luiz. Now, decisions next to him. And I was looking at Pablo Mari, and I was thinking, for me, it's still maybe just a bit too soon. He hasn't had a lot of football at the club. And given the fact it's Man City, a bit too much for me. So I'm going to go with Mustafi to start with. I think even in the pre-season games, he's looked decent. And I have no problem with him in there. So I'm going to start Mustafi. On the left-hand side, left back, I'm going to go with Tierney, the natural left back. It's going to be a big job. You're going to have the likes of Mahrez or Sterling. There's so many options, but you need to be on your job. So I'm going to go with Tierney in that position. Now, with the midfield three, first of all, Granit Xhaka in the middle. He's going to have a big role to play, and he needs to do it simple. Get the ball, release it. Let the players in front of him do what they have to do. That's the way that I would like to work it, but just in that way, simple. You know, and like I say, it's a 4-3-3, but it can also be a 4-1-3-2. Yeah, that's what you've got to think. It goes in and out of the formations when you have the ball and when you don't have the ball. So just keep an open mind on this. Now the other areas, again, this is going to be such a tough one. But I'm going to go with Joe Willock. I think that in pre-season is... I say pre-season. I keep saying pre-season because it feels like it. But in the warm-up game, sorry. Joe Willock has been the one player that looks to have staked his claim for a starting spot. And I'd start him in this game all day long. His legs, the energy, the drive is crucial for this role. So that's what I'm going to go with. Now, the next player. In my podcast with Robbie, I was talking and saying I'd probably play Saka, but changed my mind. I'd actually go with Guendouzi because, again, I want to have legs in there. I want to have an engine. I want to have someone that can drive, someone that can, you know, upset the rhythm of Manchester City. And I think with him and Joe Willock, that could work perfectly well. So that's what I would go with. Now, how I'm doing this, and I've said 4-3-3, but I'm setting up the formation as a 4-1-3-2. So, and that middle area is like a diamond. So sitting in front of that, I'm going to go with Dani Ceballos. And the reason for that is that he's a player that can hold up the ball. He's a player that can create things. He can find the pockets. He can find the spaces to the attackers in front of him. And I think that, yeah, that could be a good one. So I'm going to go with Dani Ceballos. And for all of you that may be confused, or if you're still with me, 4 at the back, 1 sits in front, which is Granit Xhaka. 2 just in front of him, which will be Willock and Guendouzi. 1 in front of them, which is Dani Ceballos. So if you think about it, that's a little diamond. Yeah, you're getting it? So that's a 4, then the 1, then a 2. Come on, man. Listen, so I'm confusing myself now. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, but no. And the 2 attackers. First of all, Nicolas Pepe. It's going to be crucial. When we go to a free and he gets to go out wide, or he can go centrally and he can run at Man City, drive at Man City, cause them problems. Very, very simple decision. Alongside him, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Straightforward. You know, when we go into a free, Ceballos can go out on that left. Pepe out on that right. Oba through the middle. Or, you know, if we make changes, you could take Ceballos off. You could bring over a Saka, or you could bring a Martinelli that can play out on that left-hand side. There's so many different ways of doing it. Every player has to be on point. That's what I'm trying to say to you. If you're looking at it, it's a 4-3-3. But at the same time, it's also a 4-1-2-1-2. Yeah, so it's like a diamond in that middle. Or you can just revert it into a 4-4-2. It sounds complicated. It sounds, you know, mind-blowing when you think about it. But this is how football works. In and out of transition. You don't keep rigid formations. And, you know, you go through different parts of the game where you have to rotate and change. And it does need the players to be up here to be able to implement those ideas. So that's my lineup. And that's what I'm going to go with. So let me know in the comment section what you think of the predicted lineup. Would you go with that formation like a 4-3-3? I wouldn't go with a 4-2-3-1. I've said that already. Absolutely not against Manchester City. I think having 2 people in the attacking areas is key, because that's where teams who've beaten Manchester City already have been having, you know, the best of luck. So that's what I would go with anyway. And yeah, it's just going to be an interesting game. I can't wait to see it. Let me know what you think of the lineup. Let me know what you would go with, formation and everything else. And we will see what happens. Of course, tomorrow you can catch me on AFTV. We're going to be doing a live watch along. And I will be with them, social distancing, of course, in a specially constructed area. Can't wait, actually. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the following day, there's going to be a DT's Daily. And then, of course, there will be a player ratings. So listen, we'll see what happens. Manchester City against Arsenal. We are back. And let's see if I'm smiling or not. I'll see you a lot soon. I'm out of here.